Hi there guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about my Mac journey, see if it resonates with you. I'm just about to receive a brand new M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch, but it's taken a long time to get there. So let's have a little look at the Macs I've had along the way and what I'm hoping to get out of this brand new Apple Silicon MacBook Pro. Hi there, I'm David, Talking Tech. I do it every week here on the channel with some great videos. If you've subscribed already, thank you. And if you haven't, now's a great time to do it. And don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of the videos I've got coming up. And I dare say one of those videos will be about my new MacBook Pro that's coming. I've taken the time to get it. I wanted to make a considered choice. It's not inexpensive, let's face it. They are eye-wateringly expensive machines. But rather than just talking about the new Mac, I thought it'd be quite interesting if we look back over the journey. I'm sure you've all got stories of why you started using Mac, what switched you to Mac, your first Macs, how many Macs you've had. I'd love to know your Mac journey and your Mac odyssey. Let me know in the comments on the video here. But if I just give you a little run through of what led me to this point of waiting here urgently and anxiously looking out the window waiting for my new Mac to arrive. So for me, my Mac journey started around about a decade ago. I'd never been a particularly big computer user. I never really cared about them. I didn't have my first laptop until I was in my mid-30s, and that was a Sony laptop. That lasted me for a couple of years. Then I had a tower built for me. It had dual monitors. I think it was meant to be reasonably okay. But at that point in time, I was visiting a lot of graphic designers and going to their studios, of course, I was seeing all these beautiful Macs and they really got my attention. It just felt cool. I wanted to be one of the cool kids. Hands up, that's what it was. And then I got into the machines. They seemed to be more creative, quieter, quicker. I liked the way they looked, at least, as if they worked in their operating system, seemed more logical. And I liked the work that was being created on them. The creative element really ticked a box for me. And that's when it started. That was when the germ was first sown. So it wasn't long after that I bought my first Mac, which was a base level 2010, I think, 21.5-inch iMac. And I've still got it. I've still got it stored in the cupboard downstairs. And it did me really well. It got me used to using Mac OS. It got me used to using gestures and the magic mouse and, of course, the operating system and Finder and the dock, how to set a Mac up. It got me used to all of that. And just as importantly, got me into Creative Cloud as well, the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of apps. Little did I know how important those apps were going to become to me over the next 10 years of my life. The first things I used out of there were Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And I began to find my way of creating good artwork on Macs for the first time in my life. And it really, really gave me some enthusiasm. I used to go into the office each day looking forward to sitting down in front of the Mac and doing something creative. And I still maintain that sitting in front of a Mac just makes you feel creative. So that's kind of my first dip into the world of Mac. And that suited me really well, that iMac 21.5-inch machine. It lasted me years and it got me going into the Mac world. But of course, there was more to come. So, of course, that was a desktop-based machine. And then I decided I wanted something away from the office at the weekends. So I bought a 2012 MacBook Air. And that was tinged with a tiny bit of sadness. I remember getting it home on the first afternoon and realising it didn't have enough storage for my music. So I had to go back to the store. They were great. I bought an external storage device and we pointed my iTunes library at that time towards that. Okay, it meant I had to have the storage plugged in when I wanted to play music. I didn't care. I had a Mac. I had a Mac at home. I had a Mac at the office, and I was loving it. It felt great. And that was me set up then with a Mac at home and a Mac in the office. Things were going to get serious after that, though. That 21.5-inch iMac that I told you I started using, well, that was at the beginning of my creative journey from an artworking point of view. And as the files got bigger, the jobs got bigger, the demands got bigger, clients wanted more. It was a basic model, so it began to creak at the seams just a little bit. I had to go and think about buying something more sustainable for the business, so I did. And it is this machine behind me that you can see right now, the 27-inch iMac that I've had since 2015. And this machine holds a really big place in my heart. It really does. It has seen me through so much work. During the 6 or 7 years that I've had it, I started a creative design business. I started a radio career, a podcasting career. I've also got into blogging and recently, of course, a presence on YouTube. So this machine has done all of that. It's seen me through so much and it's got a great place in my heart. And really, the only reason that its days became numbered was when I started doing this work on YouTube. It's a well-spec machine for graphic design, but I didn't put a particularly heavy graphics card in it because I had no interest in the time in video, believe it or not. I'd never done any video work. I didn't think I would do any video work. So the machine wasn't geared for that. And now I'm finding that I'm really being slowed down in my workflow. To export the video that you're watching now will probably take me 30 to 35 minutes, and that's not unusual. And often what happens when you watch it back in post before putting it up on YouTube, you'll notice mistakes. You have to go back into Premiere Pro, in my instance, make an edit and re-export. So you could easily be having an hour's worth of just sitting around, and it's using all the machine's resources. You can't do anything on that machine while it's working. So it is proving onerous, and that's why I thought it was time to begin to look around and move on. But before I talk about the machine I've got coming, in that same period of time, other Macs have come into my life. Those of you that watch my videos regularly will notice that the 21.5-inch iMac that used to sit to the other side there has gone. That's because I'm beginning to make room and sort the studio out for the studio display that will be with me sometime in June, and of course the MacBook Pro that I've got coming. So I'm beginning to move things around at the moment. But the other Macs that I've had during the lifespan of this 27-inch was my first MacBook Pro, because for the radio career, I often had to go and do interviews remotely or off-site, and sometimes I was producing shows on the fly, so I needed something that was mobile. So I bought a MacBook Pro back in 2018. I made one mistake of leaving that in a car, hidden in the boot, but it was in London, and somebody decided to relieve me of my ownership very prematurely on that machine. So I didn't have it for all that long. And I had a show coming up that weekend. I needed a Mac, so I had to go into a local Mac reseller and find that the Mac they had on the shelf, something I could take there and then. And the only machine they had was the 21.5-inch that used to sit just behind me. And it was woeful. It was the worst machine that I bought. It was good for emailing and doing numbers spreadsheets on, but that was about it. It was terrible, but I needed something for that weekend. So anyway, that was relegated just as kind of like an emailing machine quite quickly. And then I bought the other MacBook Pro that you can see behind me now, which is a 2019 15-inch Intel, and that's worked pretty well as well. So the combination of these two machines have done all of my work from 2015 onwards through to the current day. And I think those are all the Macs that I've had, well, I say all, in that time. So now it's time to begin thinking about the future. What did I think I needed to future-proof myself and the business moving forward creatively on YouTube? What machine was I going to choose? But before we get into that, if this story sounds familiar to you, I would love to know what took you away from PCs and brought you to Mac. Have you stayed with Mac, or do you sort of have a foot in both camps? Personally, I can't ever think about using a PC again. I'm not saying they're bad machines. I don't know anything about them, but I love the Mac world. I love this Apple ecosystem, which is a real thing. I'm thinking about buying an Apple TV at the moment as well. And it's still part of this Apple ecosystem. Everything around works so, so well. So if you've been on a Mac Odyssey with me, let me know in the comments what machines you've had and what brought you to the world of Mac. Now, back to the choice that I've got coming. I made this decision back in March of this year that I was definitely going to buy a new Mac. The investment was ready to go, and I had to decide which way to go. I'd always gone for desktop machines with a large screen because of the kind of work I do, be it video editing or graphic design. I like that large real estate. But for the first time ever, I seriously considered the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip in it. And the reasons for that were the panel in it apparently is as good a panel as you can get outside of the Pro Display XDR. It's better than the studio display that I've got coming, albeit on a smaller format. But everyone's telling me that when you start working on a 16-inch screen, it actually feels bigger than 16 inches with the smaller bezels and so on. Of course, it's True Motion, it's mini LED, 120 hertz refresh rate, beautiful blacks, great true color reproduction, which is critically important, be it for the videos that I edit here or, of course, my graphic design work. So I'm really looking forward to having a look at that screen and working on it. I've never liked working on small displays before, but I feel this might be a slightly different experience. And of course, then when I'm in the studio here, I can dock it up to the studio display anyway. I can either run it dual monitor, have the MacBook Pro open, or I can have it in clamshell mode and just work off the studio display. But the benefit is that I can now take that one MacBook Pro with no external storage devices and work in whichever world I'm in at that time, be it audio, graphic design, visual, you name it. That one machine can come with me. I can go anywhere and create whatever I want. It's got 2 terabytes of storage on it, so I can work on all of the projects that I need to at any given time before offloading them onto external RAIDs and drives. But it means that I can work locally on the huge and vast speeds that these internal disks and solid state drives have got now. And I think that's going to be a massive, massive improvement to my workflow. That's why I decided to go mobile for the first time. Fingers crossed I've made the right decision. But I'm really looking forward to getting into this experience. The only thing I can't decide is, should I buy one of those lovely new black keyboards and mice to go with it? Not sure. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you think I should spend another couple of £100 or dollars and get a new keyboard to welcome in the new Mac into my life. But as for why I didn't buy the studio, well, it was partly because then I'd be tied to a desk once again. Yes, the studio itself is quite portable, the Mac Studio, but you would need to have a monitor and keyboards and all the peripherals. So something in my heart was telling me now's the time to be mobile, now's the time to be portable. Everything's changed after COVID. The way that I work's changed. The need to be away from the office sometimes has changed. So for me, it just seemed that the Mac Studio, and when I began looking at the specs as well, it's such a powerful machine. It really is that I was going to be spending more money than I probably needed on a machine that was more powerful than I needed as well. So all in all, I just thought, you know what, that Mac Studio isn't for me. Stick with the MacBook Pro. So I've spec'd it up well. I've gone for 32 gigs of unified memory, 2 terabytes of storage, and the M1 Max chip. Now, I'm sure the M1 Max chip will be more than I need. But again, I'm trying to future-proof this. It is an eye-wateringly expensive machine, but I'm happy with the choices that I've made. And I think it's going to see me through the next 4, 5, 6 years. I would hope with this machine see me through 6 years. There's no reason why this brand new Apple Silicon machine shouldn't. And of interest, I have never used Apple Silicon in earnest. I've only ever gone and tried it out in Apple stores. I've not had it in my own studio to work on. So I'm really looking forward to the benefits that I'm hopefully going to see out of working on Apple Silicon. And not only with the video files that I spoke about here, Photoshop files can be huge as well. Obviously, the more layers you put on them, the more effects you put on them, they can be very big files now as well. So I think with those two programs in particular, and also Adobe Audition, which I edit all of the audio in for the podcast, my Minus 16 podcast, and for the audio you hear on these videos, that's all edited in Adobe Audition. And there's a few plugins I use there. And when I'm again rendering those out and exporting, trying to bounce the audio out, I notice delays there. So all of these areas I think I'm going to save time on, and I can't wait. But what about you? What do you use your Macs for? And have you bought into the Apple Silicon Macs recently? And what did you go for? I can't wait. As I say, looking at Apple, I'm looking at the Apple Store every day. And it's at the moment processing. So it's anywhere from the 4th to the 10th of May. So as I record this, it could be any time from tomorrow onwards that the machine turns up. And you guys have been brilliant. You've been really helpful in the comments. And I can't thank you enough over the last few videos. I've been asking about how I should set the Mac up. And you've all suggested the best way to go for sure is a clean install. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the Mac out of the box. And I probably will video something. I'll do some, not necessarily unboxing video, but of me having a Mac here and beginning to get it working. And what I'm going to do is put on one at a time the programs that I need to begin being creative on it. So obviously the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite will be the first thing that I put on there. And then there'll be other things that I need as we work along that enable me to do what I do day to day. Do you think that's the right way to go? I'm sure it is, because otherwise if I install from an old Mac, it's going to bring over loads of stuff historically that I've got on there that I probably don't need. But I cannot wait. I'm going to treat this Mac so carefully. I can't wait to get my hands on it and just see the speeds that I've got suddenly. I feel like I'm going to be coming into the modern ages. I'm sure that I've had one hand tied behind my back with this lovely machine behind me, and it's not going anywhere. I think you will see this around in a video somewhere. I'm not sure if it will sit alongside the studio display, but it's not going anywhere. This Mac means so much to me. It's done so much work and helped me grow in every direction that I don't want to let it go. But that's my Mac journey. I've had a few, and I really feel now as if I've grown up and come to the party with this beautiful MacBook Pro M1 Max that's about to arrive in the next few days, and I can't wait. I think my life is about to get better. Let me know, though, about your Macs, what you use, how you found it, and what your workflow is. I'd love to hear, particularly if you're into video and audio. I'd love to know, do you think there's a reason I should ever switch from Adobe and use Final Cut and use Logic? I don't know. I'm so at home in the Adobe suite, I can't see me switching, but if I'd love to hear what your stories are about using them and just your stories on using Mac generally and what brought you to them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed some of it. I hope it's reminded you about your Mac Odyssey as well. Stick around. There'll be some more videos to watch at the end, and I'll see you very soon indeed.